Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is francisp, and I'm a recovery coach and personal development coach based outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And today I'm back with another video, and this time we're doing my approach to recovery coaching. And this is going to be kind of a general outline of just some of my approach philosophies and how I go about doing recovery coaching. And I don't expect everyone to do this kind of job the way that I do it. Everybody has a different skill set in life, different things that they really, enjoy or are strong at and really focus on. I think that there are some general consistencies throughout recovery coaching, but I think everybody's going to be doing it a bit differently. And that seems to be my experience also in meeting other coaches and things like that, that everybody has a general underlying philosophy of how they feel they can best help their clients in the time that they're working with them, and things that they really want to focus on or are really good at assisting with, perhaps. All right, so let's get started. And as always, if you find this video helpful, informative, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And for one-on-one coaching, feel free to reach out. All right, so let's start with what is coaching. So coaching is supporting a client towards their desired goal through, number one, goal planning and supporting the client through each phase. So helping them identify the goal, just outline really what the goal itself is. Sometimes we might think this is our initial goal, but really a realistic, time-sensitive goal is X, Y, or Z, right? Supporting them through different phases of that. So as we have these peaks and valleys, supporting the client, building and maintaining the client's motivation during difficult times, because you're going to have these ups and downs moments. So especially during difficult times, when if you're working on something by yourself, you might be more inclined to give up. Having a coach, somebody that can help motivate you, help guide you through this is, super helpful. So 3, helping a client learn and implement new skills, habits, and behaviors. Sometimes you don't know something until you do, right? So a lot of times there's new information, there's new skills that you learn through other people. Everything that I'm teaching people, everything I've learned, I've got through somebody else, right? Or sometimes I'll develop a skill and then find out, oh, actually there's a name for this. Somebody wrote a book about this, right? Different things that you're working on, different things that you're going to implement in behaviors. And 4, serving as a source of support, encouragement, and accountability. Because at the same time, suppose you're working on something, and if you're, being self-accountable, holding yourself accountable works for some people, but a lot of people having a kind of a partner, somebody that they're working towards, that they're looking at their results with, and not there to be a judge or to oversee, but just having somebody else involved in the process can be a source of accountability, as well as encouragement. Okay, so this week we didn't do as well. Next week we're going to focus on this. Okay, this thing we were trying at didn't work out this way, so here's the adjustments that we're going to make, right? Helping to guide and support people through these different parts of the process. So also, here's some different things about, coaching is, 1, I'm not here to dig through your trauma. Counselors do that. Counseling, therapy, all that. They can go through all the stuff with your childhood. That's not what I'm here for. And personally, I think that you can achieve recovery, without going through all that. I've done a lot of that stuff in life. I think it's helped me in other areas of my life. My recovery, it was not necessarily a part of. My mental process I achieved to no longer do the substances I used to do had nothing to do with addressing my unaddressed trauma from my childhood, but not that it's not helpful. Encourage you to get counselors, therapists, all that good stuff. But I find that they focus on a lot of how did you wind up in addiction, and I think that can be helpful to really understand that, but also understanding how do you get out. And I think that especially in this time-sensitive 2024 area we're in, that's what I need to focus on, is how do I get you out of, risk, of overdose, jail, these different things. 2, I'm not here to judge you or punish you. We're a team. I'm your ally. That's the thing. When I said having accountability, I'm not here to judge you. I feel good when people succeed, but people are going to succeed or fail based also on their own choices, so I'm not here to monitor you. I'm not your probation officer or stuff. I'm not here to punish you. I'm just here to help you. Whether you or the client wants to put forth their effort into it, that's on them, Like I said, I always say I can't make people answer the phone. If somebody has an appointment and you call them, they don't answer. I can't make people answer the phone. I can't make people show up. If you show up, you put in the work, we're both doing our parts, I can guarantee you results. Okay, 3. My goal is to put a bad taste in your mouth for your substance of choice. We want to get to where disgust instead of enticing you. So instead of like having an urge for that, oh, that sounds good, imagine like, oh, that sounds nasty. Like that's how I want you to feel about your substance, whether it's alcohol, whether it's opiates, whatever it is. I want it to put a bad taste in your mouth. Like, oh, I want you to be like, man, even though I discussed, learning how you got into this, being like, how did I ever get involved? Like questioning, like, wow, I must have been out of my mind to be doing all the things I was doing. That's where I want you to be at. To that, the thought of going back to living that kind of lifestyle, you're like, that I'd be nuts. It's not going to happen. Okay. Put a bad taste in your mouth. Like, I don't even like the substance. Okay. 4, if you're still using it, it's because you still believe it benefits you in some way. That is just one spot in the addiction I target. So I say, like, if you're doing something, especially something that in other areas of your life isn't helpful, there's a reason why you're doing it. Okay, if there's a behavior that you continue to do, you believe that there's something you're getting out of it, whether it's some kind of stress relief, whether it feels good. You believe it's overall it's benefiting me. So I'm willing to put out risk. I'm willing to do these things because here's all the benefits, right? So we go through, how do these things actually benefit you? How does alcohol benefit you? How do opiates benefit you? What are the costs versus the benefits? These different things, right? Until we can kind of do that math, so that way when you go to think about it, that the benefit's just not there. Even if it's some blip on the radar, momentary benefit, it's gone. It's not lasting, and all the consequences will be there. But like once again, that gets back to putting the bad taste in your mouth, for the substance. 5, time helps build mental clarity. I'm also trying to buy you time. And with that mental clarity, that's when you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I was doing all the things I was doing, or I was living like I was. And that's why, especially hardcore drug addiction is like mental illness. When people are deep in it, when you're in it, you're not making sense. You're not making rational decisions. And it's when you come out of it, the fog starts lifting. That's when all of a sudden, like, kind of come to it and you're like, what is life? What am I doing with my life right now, right? So then in that moment, people either have the option, either do more substances to try and settle that noise back down of what am I doing with my life, quiet that down, go back to being high, or you do something with your life, right? So by giving people that time, that's why inpatient treatment, things like the 30 days, however many months, like, is to help buy people some time away from the substances to actually see mentally where are you at. And also, do you have unaddressed mental health issues, different things like that all of a sudden come to the surface, like that you're self-medicating for. There's a reason why you need that time away from the substances to kind of get your bearings, get your feet under you. So that's also what I'm helping clients buy. It's just more and more time. Even if they're having, relapses periodically, I'm spacing these out so they're farther and farther apart so we can get you more and more time. And people have started out like, oh my God, I relapse every 30 days like clockwork. And I've had a client, had him for several years. And when we started out, it was like every 30 days. We got him to like 3 months. We got him like 6 months, and he got a year, to where he would make a mistake, but we're adjusting and building on it every time and learning new things, right? And eventually, time and time upon itself. 6, clients who have succeeded year after year have built new healthy habits and routines, and that's part of the process. You're literally building like a new lifestyle for yourself. So that's new habits and routines. Like your day to day actually looks different. Having a hardcore drug addiction is like a full-time job. So then what does your day look like when you don't have that? When you're not running around doing stuff all day? What are my habits and routines? What do I do at this time of day? What do I, eat for lunch? What do I do? All these different things. I don't think what you're eating for lunch is on your radar, when you're in hardcore drug addiction. But it's like 12 o'clock right now, so I was thinking about it. So another, like a metaphor that I use, like your brain is filled with different neural pathways, like trails in a forest. My goal is to help you build new neural pathways, like new trails through your brain, right? A new trail in that forest. So with time repetition, you can alter the way your brain fundamentally operates. So previously, you see the bottle of liquor, the brain goes, I want the liquor, you grab the liquor, you drink it, okay? We're cut a new pathway. So that way when you see the liquor, you're like, oh, that's not helpful. I'm working on these other things, right? And you're literally like like I put a little graph there, you're building like a new neural pathway. And what I think of like a forest, like you're literally clearing a new path and like letting that old path kind of die over, like these in your synapses, okay? But we're like hacking through it with a machete. That's why I like the forest or jungle metaphor, because it can be work, because you're so used to doing that previous things. Now you're building this new trail through your brain, cutting this new path. But over time, the old one will die down. So that way, when you come upon the liquor, you don't immediately want to drink it. Your brain's doing the math in your head and it goes, nah, it's not worth it. That's where get it to through just like repetition, muscle memory, if you will, but in your brain, but just habit, repetition. So let's see. Also, another metaphor I use for more computer inclined people. Suppose you've got some unhelpful or inefficient programming. The good news is you can rewrite it and throw a lot of that old stuff in the recycle bin. This is done over time, but this is also where I derive hope from in treating addiction. I've also done it myself. That a lot of times, like, these are automatic responses and different things that you're doing that you're not even realizing. These associations you're making, whether you associate Friday night and fun with alcohol, and we'll get to like these different things that are happening in your brain, your cognitive processes that sometimes we're literally unaware of. So then first, when we become aware of it, we can catch it, we can check it, and correct it. So, and that's like the essence of cognitive behavioral therapy and things like that. So once again, like, I'm borrowing from different philosophies related to things like cognitive behavioral therapy, and that would be, Aaron Beck, rational motive behavioral therapy, stuff like Albert Ellis. These are some people that are like some of my personal, I guess, heroes, if you will, in life. These cognitive heroes that have laid out the groundwork for how to go about adjusting your thinking, how to go understand your own thought processes, and how to adjust them especially when they're unhelpful in your life. And some of the underlying principles of behaviorism in general. So, and the behaviorism is that being that we learn behaviors over time, many in our younger years before our brains are fully developed. Some behaviors are very unhelpful or maladaptive, but we can adapt new healthy behaviors over time that replace our unhealthy or unhelpful ones. Previously at the grocery store, you're loading up on junk food and candy. Now you're eating fruits and healthy stuff and vegetables. You have like a healthy, balanced diet, all these different things. Like, it's all part of the process, but we're like adjusting this. Have so much, your programming in your brain to, I drink the alcohol, I eat the junk food, I smoke all the cigarettes, I smoke all the crack, I do all the drugs, my body's a garbage can, like that, going from that to adjusting all these different behaviors to like, I value myself, I have such a respect for my own neurochemistry in my own body that now the thought of throwing massive chemicals at my brain, no thank you. Essentially, mental illness a lot of times is a chemical imbalance. You're causing that. You're purposely imbalancing your chemicals in your brain, right? And then unfortunately, what happens when the stuff leaves the receptors, the inverse chemicals come in. So where you had dopamine, now you have dynorphin. So now you're in withdrawal. Now you feel restless, uncomfortable, physically in pain. Like every drug that you take has an opposite reaction. For every action there's equal and opposite reaction. Well, that's how it works in your brain too. Your brain's trying to achieve homeostasis. So when you're throwing these massive waves of chemicals at it, it's fighting back with tolerance and the opposite chemical, right? And I could get in this stuff all day, but I don't want to get into that in this video. But like, this is the stuff also that we're we're using, like, to have such a respect for your own neurochemistry that I'm not trying to hit it with waves of these chemicals that are out nowadays, or my body, or my organs, my system. The xylazine in Philadelphia just rots flesh off your body. But once again, so I'm already at, let's say, 13 minutes. So, I'll try and move through this video. So let's see, like, another thing that's really important is coping skills. A large challenge for people in recovery is coping from various events in life. Often it's something negative that happens in recovery, such as a breakup, losing a loved one, losing a job or housing, a buildup of stress or burnout. And I remember I'd given a client, actually the client I was talking about that had the 30 days every relapse before I started working with him, he had never heard of burnout. And then we give him a worksheet on it. He's like, oh my God, I'm experiencing all these things. The guy worked a lot. And, but it's funny that you don't even hear of a concept. Then you're reading about it. You're like, oh, I identify with this, right? And learning how to recognize these different things that are actually a risk in your recovery, that when you're experiencing stress and burnout. For me, my my buildup of stress nowadays looks like less patience. So all of a sudden, if I'm in traffic, kind of getting annoyed, and it's already 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, okay, I'm experiencing a period of low frustration tolerance, right? But the big things, like one of the reasons why they say not to date anyone, especially a new relationship, early on recovery for the first year, is because if you go through a breakup, that can be seriously detrimental. And if the person hasn't developed the coping skills to cope with a breakup, to cope with rejection, suppose they get really interested in somebody and they ask them out and they say no, and now they want to drink or they want to use in order to cope with it, or losing a loved one, grief can be a big thing, So how do we cope with these different things, And also sometimes it's when things are going well and we think that we can add our substances back in the mix, and it's wrong, like all of a sudden everything's going well. I'm working all these things. So now I'm like, you know what? I should add in the thing that was causing all the problems before. Like, yeah, because that won't get in the way of everything you're doing now. Like, it's such a simple mistake that people do. And like I said, sometimes it's not always coping with something negative. Sometimes coping with something positive. People got a promotion and they go use. So in both examples, you need to have a deep understanding of what to do when. When something bad happens, what do I do? How about something good? How do I celebrate? How about it's your favorite sporting event and you're there and normally used to drink or what have you, and how do I celebrate now? How do I enjoy myself? How do I have fun? And when you associate, like, literally, people think about back in the day, people used to smoke cigars when they find out that they're having a child. The thing is that when their baby would be born, they would like smoke cigars, right? When people are at like a wedding, they do a champagne toast. So in society, we already associate celebrating with substances. Like that's already given to you. Talk about that programming, right? From the time you're a kid. So how do we break that? How do we first understand how we got there, right? So, okay, here's some of the programming we have, or at least be aware of it. And then how can I adjust it? So now I don't need to celebrate with the champagne toast. Like a person, I've never cared for really alcohol, like wine and stuff, taste of any of that. But so I don't need the champagne toast to have fun. I don't need to be drunk to have fun and dance at the wedding. I don't need all these different things to celebrate. I can celebrate in different ways, I find my own ways to celebrate. So what does my life look like without drugs? And sometimes that's a huge question. One second. I'm not even going to edit that out because I don't edit any of my videos. I do these all like in just a take. And I could sit there and talk about any of these individual subjects for an entire video, but I make these slides so I keep moving through it, and it gives me something to kind of reference and go off of. So that thought of what does my life look like without drugs, that was huge for me because like I was literally identified as like the drug guy. People would call me or text me with questions of drugs because everyone knew, like back when it was super unacceptable to be doing drugs like in middle school, right? Like such a small percentage of kids, first time I was in drug treatment, I was like 14. I caught buying drugs in school, the whole friggin' thing, right? But like I was known as a drug person, and that was like almost my identity, since the time I was young, and so later on in life when I'm like, what is my life without drugs? If I'm not hustling, I'm not doing these different things, I'm not involved in drugs in some ways, like what is it? What do I do? It's something I discover for myself, using a values exercise, but like what does my life look like? What is my day to day? How do I carry myself, go about the, living in the world, right? Do I equate fun and substances? When I said earlier about like on a Friday night, like how do I have fun on a Saturday, like I previously would like withhold fun almost, like if I wasn't high, if I wasn't cursed up, see, you're cursing, I'm not sure, it's probably not great for you too, but if I wasn't messed up, like how can I have fun? That I think from a time I was a young age, as a teenager, if like you and your friends are hanging out at somebody's house, it's okay. But if there's a keg or if you're doing drugs, it's more fun. So I just kept escalating that as far as it could go. When everybody else wanted to stop and were like, here's where we're at and partying, I'm taking it to the moon. And that was my problem. I realized most people aren't like that. And when you get a person like me like that, with every red flag for addiction you can name, like we take it to a different level to where it's life threatening, So, ask yourself also, how have drugs shaped my day-to-day life? Like I said, getting high, if you're doing hardcore drug addiction, like it's a full-time job. It's 24/7. When you wake up, if you don't already have something for the day, you need something for the day. I was never good at saving something for the next day. So from the time you wake up, you're on go all the time. Maybe you have something for the next morning just to get you to the point where you can go get more, till you figure something out. But it's like this constant hustle, constant all the time. And it just eventually, wore me out. I'm just over it. It's stupid, But what habits or daily rituals do I have that like I'm used to in the morning? Eventually when I got into like Suboxone from like opiates, that became like a morning almost, habit or ritual until I got off the Suboxone. Now it's like don't take anything. And for me, that was a mind blowing concept to for years of opiate use to like go to I don't need anything to get me through the day. But that's actually what the goal was. The thought of like not needing any substances, be able to just live my life, enjoy myself, be in peace, be happy, have a good time, find serenity. Like that's what I was looking for. Right? So, how do drugs affect my personality? And if anything, that's that talk about the benefits. Something like benzodiazepines, right? Which are another one of drugs of choice that make you feel like really calm. Actually, you're not. You're more irritable, more volatile. When people that are on benzos get upset, they can't struggle to reel themselves in. Just like people that are drunk, right? They're all really happy and fun, but if somebody's drunk and not having a good time or they're aggressive, it's tougher to reel themselves back in, right? So actually, you think you're really having a good time, but you're on like this razor's edge. It affects your personality in so ways. Like so much of how you feel is based on your current neurochemicals, right? So when you're doing drugs, you're changing the neurochemical levels in your brain, which are going to change how you feel and affect your personality, how you act, how you react. How will this change without drugs? How will I quote feel different, right? So if you're a person with like natural ADHD like me and you've been numbing yourself using benzos and opiates for years, what's like when I take them away? What does my energy look like? And I laugh because honestly, like, and this is what I went through. I had to ask myself that question, learn how to experience it, and learn how to direct it in a positive way. And I find things to fill up my time when I get restless. It's why one of the reasons I love exercise and going to the gym, because when I have that energy I need to get out, I can just go burn it out. You work out for like a solid hour, really good. You're going to be less, restless when you get done. You'll be able to kind of relax and chill. Trust me, you work out enough, you'll be wanting to relax and chill, right? So, see, and also at the same time, and we've had clients like this that suppose methamphetamine is your drug of choice, okay, and that you have unaddressed mental health challenges, or it looks like you have mental health challenges because you're presenting with psychosis, or almost looks like bipolar disorder or schizoaffective disorder, because of the methamphetamine use. But then when people come out of it, okay, they're fine. Or suppose people actually had some unaddressed mental health issues that they were trying to cope with using the wrong substance for that. And then you take away the substance and actually have maybe some unaddressed mental health issues, maybe some bipolar disorder, maybe some anxiety. Once again, I'm not your counselor. I'm not your psychiatrist that's going to diagnose you with these things. That's why there's a whole team and support that we're trying to build of different people. I'm just one of the people helping to, kind of guide you on this process and keep the ship going the right direction, okay? When you're outside, when you're not at the doctor's appointment, because a lot of times you see psychiatrists, you're seeing them once a month. What are you doing for them other 30 days? Who's supporting you, okay? If you see your counselor, maybe you get a one-on-one. If you're lucky, maybe once a week. Who's supporting you at other times? Now, maybe you also have groups, these different things. That's why we're building this. I can understand, here's all the different pieces of the puzzle. Here's your day to day. Here's your week to week. Here's, your schedule. Here, how did these things all fit together, right? Or do you address mental health issues that, because if you can disclose to me and we can acknowledge, are you being treated for them? Are you taking mental health medications and doing drugs on top of it? It's also very unhelpful, right? Trying to self-medicate, or like we say, too many cooks in the kitchen. Because I've worked in facilities, you have clients on a whole host of psychiatric medications and they're just throwing their own stuff in there. And I mean, I get it, I was there at one point in my life, but that's why we need to understand and have more respect for your own personal neurochemistry to not throw these different things at it, because it's always trying to find homeostasis, and you're going to might have some effects that you're not planning on, by having these different medications or giving yourself some problems. So, and all this may seem like a lot, and honestly it is, but you work on different areas at a time. Recovery will take some effort and dedication on your part. Anything in life that's worth it does. I used to be a shortcut person and realized now, with the things that you work for, that you grind at, when you achieve them, they truly feel good. Anything that's just like easily handed to you, it's like, okay, that's just one lesson I've learned through recovery. You truly appreciate the things that you work for. Easy things are meh. Like honestly, you take the shortcut. Suppose you get the award. Suppose, okay, you sign up for a marathon, you find some cheat, and, you run through at the end, and all of a sudden you're not in first place, right? And nobody catches it, and you got your award, right? Versus actually winning running a marathon. And for there's such a vast difference in the things that you work for versus the things that just come easy. And I'd learned all these things for myself. The things that have taken me years and time and dedication to achieve are the things I truly appreciate. So some of what I've said might not make sense, or you may not see how it's all connected to your recovery. And this is why I'm the coach. I see it from an outside perspective, and I've done this a lot. My job is to guide clients through the process, deciding where we need to go and when, depending on your situation. Everyone is different. And I use this, picture here of the maze. And I would say, the center that we're trying to get to, I suppose from the outside is your, recovery, and the outside is addiction. There's many different ways to get there, but we're all trying to get to that place of recovery. I'm trying to create relapse-proof clients, okay? So when these things that happen, whether it's a good day, a bad day, whatever life comes to throw at you, you're able to manage your way through it. You're able to use these new cognitive processes, your new perspective, in order to do it without using. And that's what I mean, for me to be known as the drug guy, to get to where I am and be able to do this myself, articulate it, and teach it to other people. It's mind-blowing to me still. I'm so grateful for the people who, built these concepts that I've learned. I'm immensely grateful. And other people, they'll call stuff like a miracle. I don't think it's a miracle, okay? I think that you work at this stuff. I think I wouldn't use the term miracle, but I'm grateful, I'm appreciative that this information exists out there, right? But you're putting in the work, you have to apply this stuff, repetitiously, daily, until it really sticks. Alrighty. And lastly, thank you. And I hope that you got something from this video. This is not an exhaustive, full list of what I do as a coach, different parts to it. That's why I just want a video just to give you kind of my perspective of how we're trying to change, your cognitive behavioral processes, right? We're trying to, new trails in that forest. We're trying to reprogram that computer a bit. So that way, when you come across a situation where you're literally in face to face with your substance, or you go through a situation, that you're no longer going to repeat that thing. If, and statement, if this, do that, for computer programmers, we're changing that, okay? Or in the trail, we used to go left, now we're going right. And it's going to be a process, but I understand the tools that help that process stick. And a lot of it is logic and rationale. There's not a whole big moral component to this, but I can just make it make sense for you, make it make sense for your life, to where it's easier to make these healthy decisions, because the unhelpful ones just flat out don't make sense. And that's why when you go to think about doing them, you're like, yeah, nah, I'm not doing that. So that's kind of the place that we're trying to get to. All right, so we're at 27 minutes. I was guessing it would be almost 30, but so I try to keep it not too bad for this one. So once again, this is not exhaustive my approach, but just to give you a general outline. But as always, I hope you appreciate this video and find it helpful, informative, and thank you. And for private one-on-one coaching, feel free to reach out to me through my website or my email. And it's at premiumpersonaldevelopment.com, francisp@premiumpersonaldevelopment.com. I'll link it down below. All right, thank you. Bye.